Happy holidays and welcome to Unmask Your Mind. I'm your host, Annie Sousa, and I want to start by saying that wherever you are in this moment, whether you're surrounded by loved ones, spending the day solo, or navigating some complicated holiday dynamics, you belong here. Today's episode is dropping on Christmas Day, a time of connection, celebration, and let's be honest, stress. The holidays can amplify so much. The pressure to please, the weight of family expectations, and for many of us, the ache of loneliness. If you're neurodivergent, the holiday seasons might bring its own unique challenges, from sensory overwhelm in loud gatherings to struggling with unspoken social norms. It can feel like walking a tightrope between staying true to yourself and meeting the expectations of others. And when loneliness creeps in, we may even find ourselves breaking our own boundaries to avoid feeling isolated, putting us in situations that are unhealthy, complicated, or even toxic. So let's make today about honoring your boundaries, understanding your body's cues, and learning how to protect your peace no matter what the season brings. So let's set the tone. Let's do a quick grounding exercise, okay? Feel your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath. And look around your space and name one thing that feels safe or comforting to you. Got it? Good. Let's dive into boundaries and the body, setting limits that stick. So the holiday boundary crisis. Why is it so hard to say no, right? It is so difficult to say no. Because let's talk about why. Why is it that boundaries feel harder during the holidays? Especially if you're neurodivergent or dealing with loneliness issues. Or you're feeling that loneliness. So let's dive into this. Let's break this apart. When we feel lonely, our brains crave connection like our bodies crave water. So this can lead us to override our own needs just to feel included. Maybe you said yes to an event you didn't want to go. Or maybe you reach out to someone from your past, even though you know they don't respect your boundary. Now, that is someone that feels lonely. Let's add another layer of complexity to the listeners that the following that I'm going to say applies to them. We already talked about the people that feel lonely. Now let's talk about the neurodivergent people, my peeps, people like me. For those of us who are neurodivergent, there's often an added layer of complexity. Why? Neurotypicals don't understand this, but when you're neurodivergent, going to a gathering is not just taking a shower, getting dressed, and going. No. We feel the stress weeks from the moment we find out that the gathering is happening. We start procrastinating. We don't know what to wear. We're trying to figure out what to wear. How many people are going to go? What's the gathering about? All of these thoughts come to our mind. Then the day comes. And then we're procrastinating. How do we take a shower? We're trying to see the time blindness factor. Then we feel tired and fatigued. Just the thought of getting ready and putting the makeup and all of that. But hey, let's say we already get past all of those things and we're finally at the party. Now we have to deal with the holiday lights, the loud gatherings, and even certain textures or smells that can feel overwhelming. If it's dinner, don't even get me started about the food choices. Then we have the social fatigue, masking to fit in with family or friends, which can drain your energy and leave you feeling disconnected from your true friend. And then lastly, the unspoken social rules. Navigating those dynamics, which can feel like solving a puzzle without the box. So when all of these factors collide, it is easy to fall into this people-pleasing or over-committing mode. Here's the thing, guys. Breaking your boundaries might give you a short-term relief, but it often leads to long-term regret and exhaustion. So I want to clarify something to the three examples of people I just gave. The neurodivergent, the lonely person, and the person the neurotypical that has to go to a party. And the family dynamics are just hard. It is okay to have your boundary. It is okay to say no. Even if they use guilt and all of these other reactions that make you feel so bad about yourself. Even if your mom makes you feel guilty, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandfather, your supervisor, your boss, whatever the case may be. Even if you feel, oh my God, I have to go because I have to go to this office party. And it feels also like a puzzle to a neurotypical person. Because you need to put your mental health at the forefront. So let's go back to how your body's telling you a boundary is needed. Our bodies are incredible messengers, but we often ignore them. And please feel free to go back to last week's episode where we talk about how our body is telling us of unresolved issues from our past. It's going to tell you, and it's going to give you an insight, a little bit of an insight as to why there's more to this no and boundary setting than meets the eye. Sometimes there's a reason why saying no feels so overwhelming. And who are you feeling that you're disappointing? And why is it that you have such a fear of saying no? So I encourage you guys to go back to that episode and check it out. You can also go to unmaskyourmind.com for resources. I have a free guide on having these conversations with yourself. But now that I said that to help you guys out, our bodies are incredible messengers. However, yes, we ignore them. Why? Because we're not aware of this. We're living our lives completely unaware of this. So have you ever felt your stomach drop when someone crossed the line? Or noticed tensions in your shoulders after agreeing to something you didn't want to do? Or you start overthinking something after you agreed? So common physical cues. Tight jaw or your shoulders. That means you're bracing yourself for something uncomfortable. Then there's the shallow breathing. Your nervous system. Your dear nervous system is signaling you danger. And then this one. This one that has been completely blamed to the foods and the things that you eat. Queasy stomach. Your gut. Your gut is telling you in an instinctual way. It is screaming, this isn't right. But we refuse to listen to it. So for the neurodivergent individuals and listeners out there, these cues might show up in other unique ways, like sensory shutdowns, an urgent need to steam, or a strong desire to escape the environment altogether. You're going to find ways to find how to get out. These are not failures. They're your body's way of protecting you. Recognizing the signals is the first step to honoring your boundaries. I'm going to tell you a story, a personal story, and she might listen to this, so I hope she understands the intention that it comes with. I have a dinner today with an amazing friend that I feel completely comfortable with unmasking, and she knows everything from top to bottom of my personal life. Cannot be easier than that, right? I am ADHDer, I have autism and ADHD, and my kids are the same. I will not lie to you that after I do this, I have to start getting ready, and that process to get to her house, it is horrible to us. It is horrible. But once we get there, it's a little bit easier for me because I know her. Nevertheless, with that being said, I do recognize the signals of my body in certain situations. And for my kids, and mind you, these people haven't done anything. It is the most comfortable place to be. But it is something that happens to neurodivergent people because we're thinking, am I saying something? Am I reacting the right way? I mean, my friend is going to be there, but I think her mother-in-law is going to be there. So obviously now that's a new social component. So I'm like, oh, okay, I hope I say this correctly. It's something that happens to people on the spectrum. So what I'm trying to say is, am I trying to do everything in my brain thinking, oh, can I escape this environment altogether? But am I going to do it? No. But all I want to say with this story is that if it resonates with you, you're not alone. You are so not alone. You're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way that we are. And it's okay. You're not a failure. So why is it okay to say no, even on Christmas? And by the way, I didn't say no to her because I want to go. She's making a delicious meal for us. But in case that you don't feel comfortable like I do with her, why is it okay to say no? So let's reframe the idea of saying no. Society teaches us that saying no, it's selfish. Let's face it, especially around the holidays. Let's face it, how many of you feel that or have been in situations that when you say no, it comes with eye rolling, guilt, comments, put downs, criticism, and if they don't say it to your face, eventually you hear it from someone else or at the office, or eventually, oh yeah, oh, you weren't there, I didn't know, or they say it passive aggressively to you after the fact. Exactly. I think most of us can resonate with this, right? But here's the truth. Saying no to others is saying yes to yourself. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's essential. Because boundaries are about building healthier relationships, not shutting people out. So here's an example. If a family gathering feels overwhelming, it's okay to attend for a shorter time or skip it entirely. That's another option. Communicating your needs might feel uncomfortable, but it's far less painful than betraying yourself. For those of you and those of us out there that are neurodivergent, saying no can also mean choosing environments or traditions that align more with your sensory and emotional needs. Maybe it's suggesting a quiet movie. You can say, you can share your feelings if it's some people that you feel comfortable with. I mean, you obviously, if you're neurodivergent, cannot tell your boss at the office party that you prefer it to be a movie night instead of a loud party, obviously. You would have to excuse yourself altogether. But if it's someone you feel comfortable with, you can share your feelings. And if it's your family, maybe they'll do a movie night instead of a loud party because they care about you. Or you can be stepping outside for a breather when things get too intense. Remember, boundaries don't make you the Grinch. They make you someone who values authenticity and self-respect. So let's talk about tools. And this exercise will help you tune into your body and set boundaries that feel natural and firm. Body checking exercises. Find a quiet space and take 3 deep breaths. Notice where you're holding the tension. So let's start. 1, 2, 3. Now notice where you are holding the tension. And ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I need? Think about those things. The answers are going to surprise you and are going to help make sense of it. This other tool is going to help you. A lot of the times what happens, and it's happened to me, is that people ask you questions and you don't know what to answer. You don't want to do it, but you don't want to be rude. So think about boundary scripts for tough situations. That means that you have a script for every situation. For instance, for family people, like family pressure events, you have a script. For toxic people, you have a script. So let's see family pressure situations. I appreciate the invitation, but I need to prioritize some rest this year. For toxic people, I'm focusing on my well-being and can't engage right now. For loneliness-induced overcommitment. This one I think applies to a lot. I love to connect another time, but today isn't good for me. Practice these scripts out loud, especially if social anxiety or masking makes it hard to find the right words in the moment. I understand it sounds like, Annie, that sounds so mean. I would never be able to do that. I get that. I acknowledge that. Here's the thing though. It's not easy at the beginning, but the moment that you start saying this, people are going to start reacting accordingly. And what I mean by that is, yes, I agree. At the beginning, it's going to be awful. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, everything is so perfect. I'm not going to be doing any of the positive, toxic positivity. I will tell you it's going to be anxiety provoking and different and difficult at first. However, the more you do it, the easier it starts to get. Will they fight back and give you all the stuff that they've done to you? Of course, they're going to throw that crap at you. Of course, because they're used to it. Because in a way, you kind of like condition them to that. Meaning, you put yourself last by agreeing all the time so they know that they can go that far with you. But the moment you put yourself in a first place, that you see your worth, your value, and that this is my boundary, people are going to start respecting you as such. It's not a Monday to Tuesday situation, or even Monday to Friday. It's going to take time, but it will happen because we adapt, and you're conditioned and you're starting to get them used to it. So while at the beginning it's going to be difficult and they're going to use a language that is going to make you feel horrible about yourself, help yourself by grounding yourself. Start asking yourself, am I doing something wrong? No. Are you yelling? No. Are you being mean? No. Are you being respectful? Yes. Are you saying things that they have said to you before? And this one's magical. Why? Because I bet you guys that to all of these people, one time or another, you've asked something and they've said no to you without any trouble. And how many of those times have you felt bad about yourself or you felt that they've been mean to you and your thought process has been, but I would never do that to them. Because you don't put yourself first. It's not because they're being mean, it's because you're not putting a boundary. So now, when they come at you, you can just, I appreciate the invitation, but I need to prioritize some rest this year. Or a plain no. Like they say, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to go into a long explanation. To calm yourself, you can ask yourself the same things. They've done this before. They've done this before. So why can people say no, but I can't? I mean, you don't have to ask them. I'm telling you that thought process in your head to help you. Navigating loneliness without breaking your boundaries is not easy, but it can be done. So let's go to the lonely factor. When loneliness strikes, it is tempting to settle for connections that aren't healthy. Listen, we've all been there, right? We've all been there where we've met someone and we are alone or they're lonely and they come for us or we just accept. That's not healthy. Or, and this is typical, guys, how many of you are always contacted by an ex or someone you dated during Christmas? I can feel through the vine. I can feel through the airwaves. I can feel you guys raising your hands because I think we've all been there. If it's someone toxic that made it about themselves, that never valued you, that treated you badly, that disrespected you, that didn't care about you, that used you so that he wouldn't be alone, she wouldn't be alone, so that you would make them look good, and you finally broke that relationship, oh my goodness, that person will show up during Christmas, not because they care, not because in the spirit of the holidays they found Jesus and they want to be with you. It's just because plain old, they're alone, and or they have family and office stuff and you look good next to him or her. They don't want to be alone. And then if you're lonely, it is tempting to settle for that connection. But mind you, how many of you can also agree that after the holidays, you won't see that person again and they're going to go back to the cycle of making you feel horrible about yourself. So if you already cut ties with this toxic person, don't go back. Know your worth. So here's the thing. You deserve relationships that honor your boundaries. That don't require you to shrink or compromise your values. Relationships where people are doing the same growth or are healthy. And before someone comes and says, but Annie, I know my relationship or this person is considered toxic, but it's just because he or she had a drinking problem, a drug problem, an addict, but they're recovering and they just used to lash out, but they're getting better, they're getting help. Or it is because they had a critical parent, or is it because there's trauma involved? Listen, I'm going to be very honest right here, right now, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. We've all had situations in our past, some more than others, and this is not a competition as who had it worse. The bottom line is the following. Our past doesn't define us. Someone that had a past and got over it, meaning worked on it, because getting over it is such a big term and I don't like it, but worked on it. That's someone that is emotionally mature and wants to have a good relationship with you. It's making it about you. But if this person is someone that is being consistently toxic with you and using their past as a definition of who they are and an excuse to be treating you awful, that, my friends, is a toxic person. And that's the huge difference. If they keep going over and over and over, making it about them and using their past as a pity party, listen, that, my friend, is a toxic person. Because I know a lot of people that have overcome addiction, abuse, trauma, and such, the worst critical parents in the world. And those people are one of the best, amazing, emotionally mature speakers that are helping the world right now. So that is not an excuse. The problem is when they use that for their abusive verbal behavior or their toxic behavior or whatever you want to call it. So no one deserves to shrink or compromise your value, to have their values, compromised. So how can you cope with this holiday loneliness? Create your own traditions. Watch your favorite movies, bake cookies, write yourself a holiday letter reflecting on your growth this year. You can also reach out to your community, connect with friends who understand you, whether it's a group chat, a virtual meetup, or a fellow neurodivergent buddy. You can also practice radical self-compassion. And I mean radical because we never practice self-compassion, so it is going to be radical. So remind yourself that being alone doesn't mean you're unworthy of love or connection. It means you're prioritizing your own well-being. Listen, I'm going to share something personal that I've shared in other content of mine, and I keep sharing, and I'll talk more into detail as I talk about things. I've been divorced for over 2 years now. I started over. I relocated. I literally had to start over my whole career, everything with kids, everything. And I have been alone with my kids and prioritizing my healing and my kids' healing, because that was my number one, right? I needed to heal. In the process, did I meet some people that were, because I realized I hadn't healed and I stopped. But here's what I wanted to come from this. This is what I wanted to share with you. I remember the first time, my first night, that I was alone with the kids in my old house. And I had to take the trash out. And I saw the other husbands. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to be alone with these kids. Now, understand that my relationship is complicated. It was very complicated. And I used to do things with my kids alone. So it wasn't like a big change. But the symbolism of the trash, society-wise, was big. And in that moment, I remember, wow, I'm alone. And I felt the heaviness of it, right? I felt the heaviness of what had happened in my home. How big the trauma and everything that happened in my home was. What I'm trying to say with this self-disclosure is the following. You can come back from anything. You can be alone and eventually get used to it. When you start connecting with people, we moved here, we found a community, friends, activities, hiking, so many things. Now you have no idea. I'm at the best place. The kids are happy, they're thriving. So what I'm trying to say is, you eventually will find that person. But in order to find that person, you need to be healthy. You need to be at a place emotionally where you are healthy, where you feel that you're not repeating old toxic patterns. So that you're not like, oh, I don't want to be alone, so let me just quickly crave for someone. Because that's going to make you connect with toxic people. That's what I say. It's okay to create your own traditions. We started our own traditions. It's okay to reach out to your community. I'm going to have Christmas Eve dinner with a friend. And it's okay to practice radical self-compassion. Listen, if you all know me as a single mom, washing my face and all of that beauty care is super difficult. But I have to force myself to do it. As a lot of parents probably out there this resonates with. But it can be done, you guys. It's not easy. Again, not practicing toxic positivity or whatever they call it. It's not easy. But it's one day at a time. It's literally one day at a time. And eventually you get to 2 years plus and you realize, oh, damn, I did it. We can do this. We can keep going. And we just keep going another day at a time and another day at a time until eventually you're like okay with yourself and you're at a good place. When you get to that good place, guys, that good place is going to make you have an energy about yourself that is going to attract better people. And that's what we want to help you with. So, in closing, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Boundaries are the ultimate act of self-love. When you honor your body's signal and you protect that energy, you're telling yourself, I matter. And when you show the world that you matter, the world knows that you matter and they treat you accordingly. This is not about you being more important than someone else. This is you being equally important. So let's end with a quick reflection. What is one boundary that you can set today that is going to help you feel more at peace? And how can you listen to your body's cues to guide your choices this holiday season? Think about those two as you're enjoying this season, as you're with your time reflecting. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a reminder to honor themselves this holiday. You can also download free resources on my website, unmaskyourmind.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at unmask.your.mind. You can find resources and free guides there as well. Next week, we're going to start the new year with healing through connections. So until then, have a great holiday. Take care of yourself and remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and peace.